Hello viewers. Today let's try to understand about the non-cooperation movement of your history chapter 3, Nationalism in India. First of all, we have here why non-cooperation. Why was non-cooperation needed by the Indians against the British rule? Gandhiji, in his book Hind Swaraj, he declared that the British rule was able to establish in India because Indians had given cooperation to the British. If the Indians did not give cooperation to the British, then this British rule would come to an end in India within a year, and Swaraj would be attained by the Indians. Swaraj means freedom or independence. Now, how would this non-cooperation become a movement? Okay, so according to Gandhiji, this in order to show not to cooperate to the British, okay, according to Gandhiji, we Indians have to surrender the titles given by the British government, and there should also be this boycott of civil services, police, schools and colleges, and boycott of these elections to the legislative councils also. If non-cooperation movement came to be successful, and if Britishers try to repress such movement, then Gandhiji also proposed that instead of non-cooperation movement, he would launch another movement, that is civil disobedience movement. So what's the difference between non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement? In non-cooperation movement, the Indians were not cooperating with the British, but in civil disobedience movement, not only the Indians would show this non-cooperation against the British, okay, they would also break the colonial laws made by the British government. Okay, but what happened inside the Congress? Many leaders inside the Congress were against this proposal of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, because some of them wanted to participate in elections. Okay, they did not want the elections to be boycotted. And they also thought that, many leaders of the Congress thought that this non-cooperation movement might turn into violence. Okay, so there was very much disagreement inside the Congress. But finally, in the Nagpur Congress session of this December 1920, okay, it was settled. Okay, all of them agreed, and non-cooperation program was adopted. Okay, so non-cooperation program was adopted in the Nagpur Congress session of December 1920, and in the next year, January 1921, non-cooperation Khilafat movement started. Okay, now we have differing strands within the movement. Okay, so different sections of the Indian populations, different groups of Indian populations, they participated non-cooperation movement, perceiving the ideas of Swaraj in their own ways. Okay, they had interpreted the idea of Swaraj in their own ways. Let's try to understand one by one non-cooperation movement in the cities and towns. First of all, let's try to understand what happens, how non-cooperation movement was unfolded in the cities and towns. Okay. Now in towns, non-cooperation movement started with the participation of middle-class citizens, middle-class Indians. Now, how did they show this non-cooperation to the British? Okay, by boycotting of these British institutions. Okay, now students left this government-controlled schools and colleges, teachers and headmasters resigned. Lawyers also gave up their legal practices. Okay, and in many regions of India, elections were also boycotted, except in one region, that is in Madras. There was a party named Justice Party. Justice Party was headed by the non-Brahmin people. They wanted to gain some power by participating in the elections, so they were against this boycotting of elections. Okay, now what happened on the economic front in towns? Okay, non-cooperation movement. Okay, how the people show on the economic front also. These Indian people, they boycotted foreign goods. Okay, and they also these picketed liquor shops. Okay, those who are coming to buy liquor, okay, they were not allowed to enter inside the shops. Okay, so that is picketing of liquor shops. And those Indians also in the cities and towns, okay, they were not using these British clothes, foreign clothes, and foreign clothes were burning huge bonfires, and they were using Indian clothes. Okay, mostly khadi. So between 1921 to 1922, okay, this the trade, okay, foreign trade, this coming of foreign goods fell down to half. And on the other hand, our Indian handlooms and the textile mills, okay, went up since their production went up since Indians were using only Indian products, okay, and Indian cloths. Now, but what happened in towns, slowly this non-cooperation movement faded. Non-cooperation movement gradually slowed down in towns. Okay, why? Because these khadi cloths, okay, were very expensive, and poor people could not afford to buy it. So they started buying cheaper one produced by the British mills. Okay, and also these teachers, headmasters, and students, okay, who left the government schools and these other institutions, okay, there were no other Indian institutions in those days, and time was needed, okay, to set up such institutions. So slowly they started going back to schools, and lawyers also what? See, they started going to the law court. That's why this non-cooperation movement slowly, gradually, okay, this faded in the cities, okay, slowed down in cities. Now, next, let's try to understand what happened, okay, in the countryside. Okay, from cities, non-cooperation movement is spread to other parts of the countries, that is, these villages and the hilly areas. Okay, now let's try to understand first of all by taking example in Awadh. Okay, in Awadh, in UP, there were many villages, and peasants of the villages were unhappy with how the landlords and talukdars were treating with them. Okay, because these talukdars and landlords, okay, they were taking very high rent charges from the peasants, and other variety of other kinds of taxes also they were collecting from the peasants, but the peasants were unable to pay all those things. Okay, that's why. And above that, they were also forced to do beggar. Beggar was a kind of labor forced to the villagers by the rich people, okay, to work without any wages in return. They have to work, they have to contribute the work without any wages, free of cost. They have to do the work. That's why the peasants were angry. Okay, now, so they started a movement against these landlords and talukdars known as peasants movement or peasant struggle. The leader of the peasants movement was Aluri Sitaram. The leader of the peasant movement was Baba Ramchandra. Okay, now Baba Ramchandra was a sannyasi actually. Before he became leaders, all these things to Awadh, he went to India to serve as indentured labor in Fiji Island. Fiji is a country, okay, having many islands in South Pacific. Okay, he was there in Fiji. Okay, so he became the leader of the peasants movement. And this peasants movement, they were demanding, okay, this abolition of this beggar. Okay, they did not want to do this free of cost work. Okay, beggar, and they also want to reduce the revenue charge. Okay, so their demand was to this reduction of revenue charge and abolition of beggar. And they also were against these oppressive landlords. So there was also social boycott of the oppressive landlords. The panchayat also supported the peasants movement, and the panchayats told the peasants, okay, to do this Nai Dhobi Ban, kind of social boycott. Okay, according to this Nai Dhobi Ban, the barbers and the washermen won't go to the landlord's house for cutting their hairs or washing their clothes. Okay, so this is about peasants movement. Now Jawaharlal Nehru, okay, during those days, okay, 1920s, okay, he came to Awadh. Okay, he moved from village to village and started hearing the grievances of the peasants, and along with this Baba Ramchandra, okay, Jawaharlal Nehru and other leaders, they started setting up a sabha called this Ud Kisan Sabha, and about 300 branches were set up within a month. Why this? They were interested in peasants movement because next year, 1921, non-cooperation movement would be starting, and they wanted to integrate this movement, peasants movement, with the non-cooperation movement. So when the non-cooperation movement started, the peasants also participated, but the Congress, how they had participated, were very much unhappy by the Congress. Okay, the Congress did not expect, okay, did not expect that peasants would show such kinds of this movement. Okay, so because see, the local leaders told the peasants, okay, the local leaders told the peasants false information about Mahatma Gandhi, that they did not have to pay any tax and they would be getting land, there will be redistribution of land. So they were very happy peasants, and they also started attacking the houses of the merchants, the rich people, landlords, okay, and they looted the bazaar also, and this hoarded when grains were also taken away. Okay, so this is about what? Villages, what happened in villages, how non-cooperation movement was unfolded in villages. Now next we have what? Non-cooperation movement in hill areas. Okay, now in hill areas the tribal people were angry with the British because the British, see, they restricted, okay, according to forest law there was restriction not to allow people, okay, entering inside the forest. Before that they used to go inside the forest, collect their fuels, logs, fireworks and fruits, and graze their cattle. Okay, so after these restrictions were there, they were unable to go inside the forest, collect things, so their traditional rights, okay, and their livelihoods were disturbed. So they were angry. Above that, okay, the government also told them to do beggar free of cost job. Okay, beggar work for the construction of roads. That's why they got angry and they started this tribal movement, and they used this guerrilla warfare technique. Since the number of tribal people were very less, okay, they used guerrilla warfare technique also. And who was the leader of this tribal movement? A person named Alluri Sitaram Raju was the leader of this tribal movement. Now, according to this Alluri, he could survive these bullet proofs, he could do miracles, and he could also was able to predict astrological predictions correctly. Okay, so many people became his followers. Okay, so he became the leader. And he also supported this non-cooperation movement. He talked about the greatness of Mahatma Gandhi, and he also told the tribal people to wear khadi clothes and to give up drinking also. But in order to gain freedom or Swaraj, okay, according to him, not only non-cooperation movement would be able to, okay, bring Swaraj or freedom. Okay, so they have to use violence also. So he told the tribal people to use this violence also. Okay, so the tribal people, they started attacking the police station. Okay, they also tried to kill these officers. That's why what happened? Alluri Sitaram Raju, okay, their leader, was caught and persecuted, but he became a folk hero. So this was about non-cooperation movement in hilly areas. Now, lastly, let's come to Swaraj in plantations or non-cooperation movement in plantation areas. In Assam, let's take an example of tea plantation system in Assam. Okay, in Assam, according to Inland Immigration Act 1956, the workers who were working in the plantation field could not leave their jobs unless and until they finished, and they could not go to their home without permission. And the permissions were given very rarely. Okay, so after non-cooperation movement, okay, was spread in these plantation areas also, okay, they started taking the idea of Swaraj, interpreting in different ways also. Okay, they started thinking that these workers who were working in plantation, they thought that They perceived the idea of Swaraj that they could go home and they would be getting what? They would be getting land also. Okay, there will be the redistribution of land. So many thousands of them, okay, left their places, defied their authorities, and they started heading towards the home. But in the way, okay, they were caught by the police and brutally beaten up. So this is about Swaraj in plantation. Now, see, we have studied non-cooperation movement, how different sections of the people participated. Okay, and most of the people, they were thinking that because of Swaraj, Gandhi Raj was coming, and because of this Gandhi Raj, all their troubles, okay, would be ended. Okay, so this is the end of this non-cooperation movement. In the next video, we will be discussing about Chauri Chaura incident and civil disobedience movement.